Hello, everybody. Welcome to the video version of the Film Gist podcast. Yes, I've decided very randomly and very last minute to make a video version of the podcast. Hopefully, you listen to the audio version for a much longer discussion of the movies that we review every week. This week, I wanted to very quickly talk about Batman versus Superman. So, my goal here on YouTube is a quick, spoiler-free 10-minute review, give or take. And then if you want the longer version of the review with Jesse's opinion as well as some spoilers, you can listen to the audio version. Head over to thefilmgist.com. You can subscribe there, add it to your podcast trackers. But without further ado, let's talk about Batman versus Superman. It seems like the summer big blockbusters get earlier and earlier every year. And this year, here in the square of March, we're getting Batman versus Superman. And this movie has been rumored and hinted and talked about for a very long time, and DC has kind of sat by the wayside while Marvel has kind of built up this empire, and now we should say Disney has built up this empire. So we've got DC's two marquee men clashing in one movie, and what can we expect? Well, the very quick synopsis of what I think of this movie is very quick, very rushed, and lacking in heart. What we, for some reason, decide to completely throw out the entire Batman trilogy that happened, the Nolan Batman, and we knew that was going to happen, and that's fine. However, we're tasked once again with watching the Batman origin story, and quite frankly, at this point, the whole world knows how Batman started. Do we really need to watch this again? We get to watch it one more time. However, I really thought the beginning of this movie was actually pretty great. There were a couple moments with Batman on the ground, kind of, you see the Man of Steel film from, Batman's point of view, the end of that movie. And it was actually interesting to see, and it was I kind of got the vibe that we were going to get an actual setup of Batman and Superman. And while we get that, there is just in the second and third half of this film, just a very large mess of a movie. There are so many characters to introduce. In such a small amount of time that everything just feels very rushed. The one thing I will mention is Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I at first thought was really brilliant, and I wrote in my notebook, man, he's playing a really great Lex Luthor. If Lex Luthor is the Joker, somebody apparently told him that Lex Luthor acts like the Joker. I don't know when that happened, but and it turned very bizarre, especially towards the end of the film. And as I said, no spoilers, but man, it was just beyond weird. The movie ties together two characters who are supposed to be very different. Superman and Batman are very different characters. One is supposed to be the perfect Boy Scout, Wonder Boy kind of thing, and the dark, grimacing Bat is kind of the opposite of that. However, in this universe, for some reason, Superman is exactly the same as Batman. Now, there are some really smart cinematography cues that happen when you're in the Batman world in Gotham and when you're in Metropolis with Superman. And I do love that. That's really great. But there's just something lacking with these two characters that, unfortunately, I want to reference back to Marvel. Marvel has had the ability to have entire movies for these characters to mature and become something that we care about. With some, exceptions here and there, and Black Widow didn't get a proper movie, and some would argue the Hulk didn't get a proper movie, but a lot of those characters, and even in those short Avengers films, we care about so deeply, and there's just so much missing from these characters that has to get crammed into the first third of a movie that just flies by. It's beyond weird. Beyond that, some of the action in the film has you really scratching your head. There are dream sequences that you kind of find yourself going, what is that? Why did that happen? Um, and a lot of the action is really kind of back to some of that hard to shaky cam style, hard to see, and it throws you off. One of the things I loved about Deadpool, who was in his own little universe, was that the action was real and visceral, and you could see it. And I feel like we came to see the fight between Batman and Superman, which we don't get to see for a very long time in this movie. And when we do, it's not what you would expect it to be. The movie also tries to set up, it tries to spend a lot of time helping you try and pick, am I on Team Batman or am I on Team Superman? And I feel like one of the things I really love about Marvel is that they go for it. Everybody walked into this film knowing whether they were on Team Batman or Team Superman. And even in my screening, the people who were there to kind of build hype for the movie kind of asked the crowd, are you Team Batman or are you Team Superman? And it was, people know these characters. And that's what Marvel gets to do because Iron Man's had 3 movies, and we don't have to. We already know and love this character. This was all put together so quickly and so rushed that it feels rushed. It just feels we have no reason to want to care about either of these characters in this film. Now that being said, there's also so many other comic book issues with these characters. Batman, first of all, is the character who will never use a gun, although there are loads of guns in this movie. There's even a gun on the front of the Batmobile. Just not. It goes against everything that these characters really believe in, and it kind of just makes me really dislike the world that Zack Snyder has set up. I didn't have a ton of issues with Man of Steel until the end that everyone also has huge issues over. I won't spoil that if you do care to go watch that. But that same Superman that everyone got angry at in Man of Steel just continues over. And the big issue you have here is there is no Batman v Superman. The marquee matchup that we got isn't really a thing because both characters are the same. They're both the dark, brooding character, the angry character that do things out of anger and malice, and that's not what Superman is supposed to be. Superman is supposed to be the best of humanity. He's supposed to be somebody that we idolize, and this character that Zack Snyder portrays as Superman is not that in the least bit. That's what Batman is supposed to be, and then we end up with 2 of the exact same characters, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work on those levels. And then there are so many storylines. There are so many little things thrown in, to set up the next 10 movies that they want to build with this whole universe that they're planning, and it's all just force fed to you. There are great surprises and great things to see in this movie that I would recommend staying away from spoilers for if you care at all about it, but it's just all force fed to you so quickly and just feels very forced. And of course, Wonder Woman in this movie doesn't really get much of a role, doesn't really get much of an introduction. She's kind of given, in my opinion, the Black Widow treatment. However, I feel like Wonder Woman's going to be a much more important character in this universe, but that's thrown aside. And the other really crazy thing about this is that DC has a very established character with the Flash on television, as well as Green Arrow, and those people are being thrown aside. Apparently, they're not being cast into this film at all, or into this universe at all. And this is another thing that Marvel is doing so well. And I keep referencing Marvel because I'm in the middle of rewatching Phase 1 right now, and in the specific order you're supposed to watch them, it makes linear sense, and it's so interesting to see how much care and thought went into building these little characters and these little weird moments and the one shots and then the after credit scene. Which, by the way, there's no after credit scene here, so don't waste your time waiting for that. They just put so much more care into these characters, and it seems like we're kind of going down the same failed path. The only unfortunate thing I can see here is that I think everyone's going to see this movie. There is a visual and audio spectacle to be seen here. It's loud, it's bombastic when it wants to be, and of course, it's Batman versus Superman. It is the main event. It is a spectacle, and it just, to me, does not earn the moments when it is a spectacle. It just feels very hollow and very forced, and some of those moments end in very strange ways. There are lots of moments in this movie where I'm constantly going, "Why? What is that?" And there was a couple moments even when I literally laughed out loud at how some things ended or resolved. So yeah, it was unfortunately a disappointment. I would usually say when something is a visual spectacle to be seen in the theater, I recommend still going to see it, but I think everyone is still going to see this movie. I think that it's going to do very well in the box office just because it's got that title of Batman v Superman. And that's not going to, bad reviews are not going to stop people from heading to the theaters to see this because it's something that everyone has to see for themselves, right? And I don't blame people for that. There is entertainment here to be had. So that being said, I would give it a 2.5 stars out of 5. I think everyone is still going to see it. It's going to do very well. Apparently, this is the beginning to our summer movie season. So here we are. Here's to the next crazy big blockbusters for the summer. I'm very excited to see what the summer holds with Civil War. But we'll be reviewing those when they come out. If you want a longer review and hear what my co-host Jesse has to say about Batman vs Superman, our review is going to be out on audio version this Friday. And we'll also be talking spoilers there, so follow us over at the Film Gist on Twitter or on Facebook, and you can keep up to date with us there. You can follow me personally at Nick Rodriguez on Twitter as well. I post all the stuff that I do there. If you happen to like Apple stuff, head over to themacgist.com. You can listen to our audio podcast. Apple just had a big event. Listen to that. Oh, and as this video channel is still new, comment, subscribe down below. I'm going to try and have a new movie review up every week in this 10 to 15 minute window. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you later.